HD2 New York, a Good Karma Brands radio station.
Michael K. is on the radio today, and he ain't afraid to say what he's thinking. It's the Michael K. Show on 880 ESPN Radio.
No Michael K.
That's right. No Michael K. Jake Asman in for the K-Ster, taking you till 3. Don Hahn and Rosenberg comes your way then. We got a lot to talk about here on St. Patrick's Day. Everyone's wondering, where is Michael? Well, he's at the parade right now. He's celebrating. People think he's Italian. He's not. He's as Irish as they come. People actually think I'm Irish. I'm not, unfortunately, but I will pretend like I am. It is St. Patrick's Day. No Michael K., that is true. Michael being at the parade, I don't believe that is true, but we can ask Ray Dinahan that. He knows Michael's location at all times. We do have a ton to dive into. I'm wearing in studio, if you're watching it on the ESPN New York YouTube channel, I've been super into the WBC. My boss, John Winthrop, made fun of me for that. He doesn't seem to care much about it. I think it's been great. I'm excited about the World Baseball Classic, and I'm rocking my Aaron Judge USA jersey tonight. Because tonight, the U.S. has a chance to win the WBC for the first time since 2017. We know the opponent. They're taking on Venezuela. So there's some New York ties with that team, of course. You got, the Gleyber Torres-led Venezuelans on one side. On the other side, you got, of course, Judge and Bednar and some of the Yankee tie-ins. For the Mets, you got Nolan McLean starting tonight. And I think it's fair to say, even though he pitched in a playoff race at the end of last year and had some great moments for the Mets, keeping them alive to the final day, I think it's fair to say there's some real pressure on Nolan McLean tonight. Like this, you could say, is the biggest start of his career, is it not? He hasn't had that many starts in the big leagues, but his first start in the WBC was not very good. He put the U.S. in an early deficit. And I think you could ask the question, if Team USA loses tonight, is it a failure? And it's tough to sit here and say it's a true failure just because of the way the rules are set up for this tournament. You're not getting your best pitchers that are stretched out, able to go and do their thing. We'll see the availability of some of the relief pitchers for Venezuela. They had to use all of them last night in their comeback over Italy. So it's not a true test of who the best nations actually are. But if you have been into it and you see the care for the players, I don't think there's anything wrong with being excited about something. So I'm excited to watch the WBC later. And the U.S. is supposed to win this thing. The U.S. built a team that's arguably the most talented team they have put together since this tournament became a thing back in 2006. You have Judge, who wanted to be a part of this thing, Harper, Schwarber, go down the line, Bobby Witt Jr., and the U.S. offense really has not carried them. They scored a bunch of runs in the first couple of games of the WBC. They had the big inning against Mexico, but tonight you'd like to see against Eduardo Rodriguez, who's a pretty mediocre starter at this stage of his career, you'd like to see the U.S. score some runs early in this one. And for those saying, who cares, it doesn't really matter, I saw something before the show today. The get-in ticket price for tonight's WBC, the cheapest ticket to get in on the secondary market right now, $396. Game's being played in Miami tonight. If you watched any of it last night, you saw the crowd for Venezuela. They were going crazy. So people are into this thing. And I'll be watching later. We got that at 8. Knicks playing tonight. Islanders taking on that traitor, John Tavares, up in Toronto. So I know my fellow Islander fans will be watching that. Good sports night if you are a New York sports fan. 800-919-3776. Jake Asman in for Michael K. till 3 today. This was Nolan McLean yesterday talking about pitching in tonight's World Baseball Final.
If you work your whole life at something, you want to be put in these spots. So it's just kind of a dream come true to be able to get the ball in such a big moment. It's something I want to do.
And let's see how he does, because he wasn't good in his last outing against Italy. He got off to the great start, and then he only made it through 3, gave up 3 earned runs, gave up 2 home runs. He didn't pitch well. But now this is truly the biggest game of his life. I think if you're a Met fan, you want to see how Nolan McLean handles it. Now, if he doesn't pitch well, are we going to sit here and say, that means he's not any good? Of course not. But if you want this guy to be an ace for your rotation someday, aces pitch big games. Aces pitch winner-go-home games in the postseason. This is the ultimate winner-go-home game. Win and your country wins the gold medal, lose and they don't. So I am fascinated to see how McLean bounces back and just what he looks like in this type of environment. It's interesting because McLean, of course, pitching for the Americans tonight, his manager, Carlos Mendoza, Venezuelan. So how's he rooting for this to play out later?
Best way to put it is I'm rooting for, obviously, Venezuela, but with Nolan pitching, I want him to get his pitch count where he needs to be, and then after he comes out of the game, we'd like for Venezuela to put a rally on. With all the respect that I got for so many people in Team USA, obviously. It'll be fun. It's good for baseball. Two really good teams going after each other.
The way the players care about it is why I think the fans have gravitated to it. If the players didn't care, then I don't think a lot of fans would care, even if there's pitch counts that prevent like the truly best pitchers from doing what they do. But I feel like maybe this is just the sports radio format in general. Negativity is usually what we talk about. And we'll get to some negative things, believe me. We got some things to discuss today on our show. But the WBC, if you've been watching these games, they've been fun. The crowds are into it. The players care. And I think that helps people care. Plus, you're riding the momentum of the Winter Olympics where people really gravitated to the men's and women's hockey teams. So there's something to be said for that. So I'm pumped to watch it. The crowd tonight will be electric. And I know Aaron Judge got some blowback for talking about the WBC crowds being, bigger and better than World Series crowds. He's right. He's not wrong. Now, bigger, I guess technically, if you want to you pull the Michael K. Captain Literal Man, it's not bigger because the attendance at the stadium in South Florida where this game is less than that of Yankee Stadium or Dodger Stadium and the one World Series Judge played in. But the energy is different. If you've been to a World Series, and I went to Game 5 of the World Series in 2024, the energy is very corporate. I'm not saying Yankee fans don't get loud, and it still wasn't a great atmosphere for a game. It was. When the Yankees were up 5-0 that night, it felt like, oh, my God, is this 3-0 comeback actually going to be possible? And the fans were super into it. But it's a different level of intensity in these games because it's a Game 7 every round. And also, because the average fan, the diehard fan, is priced out of going to these games. That's just a reality. Have you seen what the tickets cost? I spent $900 for my World Series ticket to watch the Yankees, who at the time were down 3-1 going into that game. They were down 3-1 in the series. I spent $900, and it's not like I had a great seat. I was in 320B, which is behind the plate on the third level. Not the second level, not the field level, which is the 100 section at Yankee Stadium. The average fan can't afford to go. So the crowd is naturally different because up until tonight, where I gave you the average ticket price being $396, these tickets were affordable for people to go. So that's a big difference, too, in the energy level of these crowds. And no one seems to talk about that. It's just, how could Judge say that? If you really listen to what he's saying, he's not wrong with anything he said. I thought the blowback that he was getting for those comments was just silly. Like, let's be outraged over things that actually matter. Not Aaron Judge talking about the energy level in the crowd. It's a different type of energy. It is. Watch the games. You can see it. 800-919-3776. 800-919 ESPN is the number. The expectation is that the U.S. will win tonight. And contrary to what Juan Soto said, if the U.S. does win tonight, guess what? They are the best team. Now, whatever fakakta response Juan Soto said that the Dominicans somehow proved they're the best team, which makes no sense. But I also would like to see the U.S. win because you have a lot of people saying, America only advanced because the umpire blew the final strike 3 call at the end of the game, which is just not true because the Dominican Republic had so many opportunities to get another hit in a different at-bat with runners on all throughout the game, and they didn't. But I'd like to see the U.S. win just to kind of validate the run they've been on. They lose in the championship, then you got to hear about it. Plus, you'd want to avenge losing to Japan, I'd think, in 2023. Now, it's a different team, but that ended up being a great ending to the game, despite the U.S. being on the other side of it. Ohtani striking out Trout with the game on the line. As far as recent baseball moments, that was big time. And the U.S. versus Mexico game drew over 5 million viewers. So people are into it. I don't have the ratings from the U.S. game the other night against the Dominican, but they were massive. So for U.S., some keys, McLean, settle in early. And it's cliche, but for the U.S., can you score some early runs? You're not playing from behind. You're facing Eduardo Rodriguez. He's not very good. He hasn't been very good. U.S. has all the pressure and the expectations, but they're the better team. And that doesn't always matter in a one-game sample size in baseball, as we know. But I think the U.S. does win tonight, and they win the WBC. And for Aaron Judge and Bryce Harper, first championship of their careers. Can we say that? It's not the same as a World Series. But those guys have been in World Series. They haven't won a championship yet. This would be on the baseball reference page. It would. 800-919-3776, number to call to be a part of the show. We got some football news to get into today. Mel Kiper Jr. has got a new mock draft that's out, and I think if the Jets listened to what Mel wanted them to do, many Jet fans' heads would likely explode, so we will get into that. Plus, we have an old-fashioned source-off between retired radio host Mike Francesa and SNY Jets reporter Connor Hughes, where they are each saying different things on what the power structure of the Jets actually looks like between Aaron Glenn and Darren Mougey, the general manager. So we will get into that coming up. But we start with some of your calls, 800-919-3776, at Jake Asman on X. If you want to tweet, if you can't call, let's get to them right now, and let's say hello to Spencer in East Windsor. He's up first on the K Show today. What's up, Spencer?
Hey, Jake, how are you? You know, I love the World Baseball Classic. I really started following it in 2017. This World Baseball Classic, it feels like each tournament gets better and better every time. When I sit and watch the tournaments, you know, I'm a thinking kind of guy. So a couple of things that I take from this tournament that I could sort of imagine. I'm not saying they would actually happen, but what I like from this tournament that I would apply to Major League Baseball, I like the 65-pitch limit for the starters. I know it'll never happen, but I like how after a starter is taken out, it does raise the possibility of there being more runs. If you're in charge of baseball, if I was in charge of baseball, and if I wanted to find a way to get more runs into the game, I think a pitch limit on the starters would be a good thing because it would require the relievers to be just as sharp, and I think that would add to the drama of a game. Are they going to be able to, you know, hold a lineup down, or are they going to, you know, give up a 9-0 lead? Another thing that I like also is I like the one and done concept. It'll never happen, but if there was ever in the future of baseball a proposal to create a new type of playoff system where it included this one and done format, Jake, I can't say I hate it. I love it.
Well, Spencer, here's the thing, though, right? I appreciate the call. I would disagree on the one-and-done format for the actual baseball playoff. Remember MLB experimented with the one-game wild card? I don't like playing 162 games and your season potentially coming down to your pitcher just doesn't have it on that day. I don't like that. I think you have to reward the marathon of the season. Otherwise, why are we playing 162 games? So I don't like having this format where, you know, once you get to the quarterfinals, it's the knockout round. Here we go. And like for the WBC, the regular season in this case was like pool play. And then you get to the knockout round. I don't like that. I don't think a whole season should come down to just one game. It works for the WBC because you're trying to get this tournament in a condensed amount of time. It's why I'm on board with the World Baseball Classic. Again, I'm wearing an Aaron Judge USA jersey in the studio right now. You're watching on the station's YouTube channel. So I've watched every pitch of every game. I've been into it. But it should be held at the All-Star break. Like if MLB really wants to take this to the next level and the players want to actually be a part of something big, they need to copy what the NHL did with the Four Nations face-off. And they need to have this instead of the All-Star game one year. Take 2 weeks and play the tournament. Maybe you don't have as many nations in it because you don't have time to do a full, pool play round. But that's, to me, the next step for this because then you could get some of the best pitchers and best players who opted to not be a part of it because they feel like they need the full spring training for their routines to be ready for the 162-game season. Maybe those guys would be a part of it. Like Max Fried said, I'd love to do it, but I know my body. I just know I can't be pitching in high-stress, high-leverage innings this early on in March, which is totally reasonable. So I think if you actually want to take it to the next level, baseball's going to have to sacrifice a little bit. Maybe you only play 154 games during a WBC year. So that gives you more time to actually do this during an All-Star break. Otherwise, you're going to have the season ending in what? Potentially mid-November? November 8th, November 10th, if you have to move things back, or you start the season a lot earlier, but then you're dealing with the bad weather in the Northeast. If it's a WBC year and you start the season, in mid-March instead of late March, you would need opening day to be like right around now if you were going to take time to do it during the All-Star break, or you could just shorten the regular season games. But that's how you could potentially get this tournament to the next level here. If you potentially do that, and then you could get way more of the best players to be a part of it, and maybe you have less pitching restrictions. It doesn't need to be you can only throw up to 90 pitches in your final start if you're Paul Skeens the other night. It could be, hey, big fella, you pitch till you can't. I think that's the next step for this if baseball wants to do it, but there's been no signs that that's where it's headed at this point. Jake Asman in for Michael K, 800-919-3776. More of your calls right now. Let's say hi to our guy Ed in Northport. Hello, Ed.
Hey, Jake. I think it's 19th time, a long time, but I'm not sure. I lost count. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, Ed. What do you got for us, my friend?
All right. Well, I was going to ask you a couple of questions about the WBC, similar to the Four Nations, but you kind of you touched on that. I have a friend, Andrew, who's a big Mets fan, talking about Aaron Judge not coming up clutch, and I replied to him with that throw, when he threw out Tatis, the Dominicans were scared, I think, to run the bases because of that. That was one of the more electric throws we've seen, and that could have saved the Americans, tournament chances, just that throw alone. But want to bring up 2 points. George Lombard Jr., like I said, we're going to talk about the WBC, but we're going to pivot real quick. George Lombard Jr., with Volpe out, why not? I know he's young, but why not just give him a shot? Give him a week. What like they did this with Jeter. Obviously, Jeter was a tiny bit older. Why not give Lombard the shot, see how it goes, and you might have something a little bit better than you thought at this early stage. And then my last point is the New York Islanders. I'll be one of those guys watching tonight, like you mentioned in your opening. Where can you see this team ending? As always, thank you for your time, Jake, and let's go Islanders.
And I appreciate it. Speaking of the Islanders, I saw something that I was going to bring up later in the show, but I'll just do it now because Mr. Islander Ed in Northport made reference to it. Matthew Schaefer apparently has 1,000 guests that will be at this game later tonight. Islanders playing the traitor John Tavares and the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'm calling BS on Matthew Schaefer having 1,000 guests. Now, maybe he just bought a bunch of tickets for like the local school in the area where he's from. Okay, fine. But there's no way he personally knows 1,000 people that he got tickets for. That's impossible. He's 18 years old. What 18-year-old knows 1,000 people personally? But the way it was framed, I saw on X, was that Matthew Schaefer has 1,000 guests at the game later. I'm thinking, there's no way. That doesn't make any sense. So I'm not buying that. But as far as how far can the Islanders go, I mean, look, they have an all-world goalie. They have a young superstar mixed in with a nice mesh of veterans. I mean, how far could they go? I mean, it could go on a run. They have the ingredients of a team that could make some noise in a Stanley Cup playoff. Would I pick them to get to the Cup final? No. But I didn't have any expectations for the Islanders this year. So I think if you're an Islander fan, these are the most fun type of seasons when the expectations are low and you feel like, okay, it's house money. Now they got to solidify their playoff spot first, and this is a big game coming up later. They're at 81 points right now. They got teams right behind them. Columbus at 79, Ottawa at 77. Islanders have the same amount of points as the Bruins. The Red Wings and the Canadians have 82, so one more than them. Like the conference is really bundled up outside of the top two with Carolina and the Buffalo Sabres, by the way. The Jets are about to be all alone as far as teams that have missed the playoffs for the longest drought in sports. It was the Jets and the Sabres. Well, Buffalo right now looking like they're going to be a playoff team. But we'll see how that plays out. 800-919-3776. More of your calls right now. Let's say hello to Dave in Queens, who joins us here on the Michael K. Show. Hello, Dave.
Hey, Jake. There's only one guy that can get thousands of people. It's you for an event. Schaefer's got to get in line behind you. I've been to your events. Okay, they're great. Listen, please, I'm not joking. And shout out to the chat, very loyal group out there. I call them the loyalists. Listen, Jake, I'm not crazy. Maybe I am, but hear me out. Altuve sits to the. You see Altuve with his wife sitting in the stands last night. If you saw the game,
I did. He was sitting behind the plate. It looked like. Yep.
Yeah, but on an angle, right? The angle is to look, to my opinion, to look at the pitcher. He's doing a lot. She's a nervous-looking guy to begin with, but he's definitely. First of all, MLB should never allow him to be there in that location because he's a sign stealer. You know what I mean? And he's doing it last night. He has the body language of a shady person. He's putting hands to his mouth. He definitely wants Venezuela to win. Of course, he's a little nervous for that, but in my opinion, he was up to something last night, and I expect him to be up to something tonight too. He stood up with his hands on his arm. Yeah. Yes, sir.
I'm a Yankee fan. I dislike Altuve as much as anyone, right? Come on. You really think Jose Altuve was stealing signs for Venezuela last night?
I don't believe he was stealing catcher signs because of his angle. I think he's trying to see the location of the pitcher's glove, maybe the tipping of the pitch type thing. And I'm not crazy. If you watch the game, I watched the game and I watched him. And he stands up at times with his arms folded. That's a sign. You know, he's a nervous guy, but I mean, this guy's played in World Series and everything. I mean, of course he wants his country, Venezuela, to win, but I believe at the angle he's sitting at, he's up to something, and MLB should not allow him to be in that angle because he's a sign thief.
I appreciate it, Dave. I can't go there with Jose Altuve stealing signs for Venezuela in a game he's not even in. Look, I hope Dave is right. All right, I'd love to rag on Altuve some more. All right, I would love to do it. I just don't think that's what's happening here. I just typed in Jose Altuve, and the only video I could find is just they showed Altuve at one point during the game reacting to various moments, including at the very end, they put the camera on him, and he celebrated with his arms raised when Venezuela got the final out in the ninth inning. I mean, we can't actually think that he's stealing signs for Venezuela.
Do you think he had a buzzer behind home plate?
Now that seems more plausible. I mean, come on, man. I get it. Yankee fans, you don't like Altuve. I don't blame you. Aaron Judge, in my mind, is a 4-time MVP, not a 3-time MVP. He should have won it in 2017, the year Altuve won it. So I'd be the first to say all that. But I don't think Jose Altuve is stealing signs for Team Venezuela in a game he's not even in.
He wasn't holding a garbage can lid, right?
No, he was just wearing his Venezuelan jersey. He didn't even have anything in his hand. He was just putting his hands up. I don't know. I appreciate the call, though. 800-919-3776. Stephen in New Jersey up next on the Michael K. Show with Jake Asman. Hello, Stephen.
Hey, what's up, Jake? How you doing?
What's up, Stephen?
Yeah. So I wanted to raise a point quickly about the World Baseball Classic. I think it's drawing really amazing numbers. I think it's the most exciting baseball that's being played at all over the last few years, honestly, and I think some of the moments are really massive. I wanted to get your thoughts on, like, a mid-season play-in tournament, like World Baseball Classic style, that comes over, like, 2 weeks of, like, an all-star break. Say they extend that for 2 weeks. It's, like, the top 6 to 8 teams, so it rewards those teams who are actually good in the first half of the season. And the winner, top team, secures a spot as at least a wild card, but can still play for the division for the remainder of the year. So it draws viewership mid-season, makes the first half actually matter, and still makes the rest of the season matter to each of the teams, even the one that wins at the end of it, of the tournament. Thought it could be a cool thing to make the baseball season a little bit more exciting because, let's be real, like, 162 games can be a bit of a drag. And quite frankly, a lot of people really only tune in after the All-Star break. So why not make the first half matter, have a fun play-in tournament in the middle of the summer, and then the reward is that they get the playoff spot for being the top team.
But, Steven, what are you doing about the All-Star game? And then do these games count for the regular season for the 162? Because to add more games, that's where you get into trouble. Like, I just don't see how, with the baseball calendar being what it is and how sacred 162 is to just the history and the record bookkeeping of the sport now, how you could pull this off.
I would say chop off 7 days of the 162 and, like, just put them into this play-in tournament for those teams. I think that's what I would do. I mean, honestly, like, and also, like, what's the All-Star game even doing for anybody? Like, it's not. It's just it's just it's not even entertaining anymore. Like, and the players don't want to play in it. It's not competitive. Like, at least this is competition.
Well, but that's not true, though. The All-Star game for baseball, I think, is probably their best All-Star game of any of the major sports. You can't fake baseball. Pitchers can't go up there and be like, I'm just going to lob it in there because I don't want to get hurt. No, that's how you get hurt. The baseball All-Star game is still highly competitive. So I disagree with that. I don't want a play-in tournament. What I would do is I would just take the WBC and play it when you would play the All-Star game. Play it in that time frame. That's when it should be. You'd have to work with the schedule makers to start the season probably a little earlier in March, because I don't think you'd want to end the season later. Then you're talking about potentially having the World Series going to early November. You know, Derek Jeter was Mr. November because the season was paused because of 9/11. And it resumed later. That's why Derek Jeter was Mr. November, because of that World Series going as late as it did. That's not the norm. So I don't like that idea. What I would do is I would simply find a way, and if you're the MLB and you're the MLBPA, you have this golden opportunity here to really maximize the attention that's on your sport. You could do it at a better time, or you could keep doing it the way you're doing it. But I think if you really want to maximize what this event could eventually be, every 3 years, maybe it's every 4 years if you're actually going to pause part of the season, you do it when the All-Star game is that year. That's what the Four Nations face-off was. We saw that. 800-919-3776. We'll take more of your calls on this. I know a bunch of you want to weigh in. You also could tweet me at Jake Asman, ASMAN, is where you could find me on X. We got one guest scheduled today. Former Auburn basketball head coach and current CBS Sports college hoops analyst Bruce Pearl will join me at 2:30. So we'll check in with Bruce and preview the NCAA tournament with him. Some of the first four, the play-in in Dayton, starts later tonight. For those who are into the NCAA tournament, I got some thoughts on the tournament. I don't think it's anywhere close to what it once was. So we'll talk more about that a bit later, but we'll get into St. John's, of course, with Bruce Pearl and a whole lot more. Keep it right here. Jake Asman in for Michael K. till 3, right here on 880 ESPN New York and the ESPN New York app.
The NBA moves fast, and the stars move faster. With DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 sportsbook for live betting, you're never a step behind. DraftKings keeps pace with every play, offering industry-leading live betting, dynamic odds that shift as the game unfolds, and more open markets more often. They're live when others aren't, so you're always in the game when it matters most. Get in on the action with live player props as the most exciting performances unfold in real time. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code WHSQ. That's code WHSQ. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problems gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, pass-through of per-wager tax may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply.
Attention New York Verizon mobile customers. Score a massive win with award-winning Fios Home Internet for an incredible $20 a month guaranteed for 3 years. Switch today now across New York City and Westchester. Find a doctor at nyp.org/oxspine. Stay amazing. New York Presbyterian.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You sort through tons of resumes and you get too many so-so applicants. You're just waiting for someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now, there's a place where you can meet them fast. ZipRecruiter.
Need to hire right away. Start your search for strong candidates. The right fit awaits. Build your team. Build it sooner. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/ESPN right now to try it for free, and you're on your way to meeting your match. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. So try it now. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/ESPN. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/ESPN.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
Hey, it's Alan Hahn. Rings End is your locally owned Benjamin Moore retailer. They're your store for quality with a full line of brilliant and durable Benjamin Moore paints. They're your store for inspiration with thousands of colors and a variety of sheens. And Rings End is your store for expertise with one-on-one advice for contractors and homeowners. Insist on Benjamin Moore paint from Rings End because the gorgeous color you love can't be matched in another brand of paint.
50 years from now, will jeans be wide or skinny? Will email still exist? Will guac still be extra? One thing is certain. If you won the new Millionaire for Life from the New Jersey Lottery today, you'd still be getting $1 million every year for life. That's enough money to say, bring it on, the future. I will have that guacamole at any price.
Play the new Millionaire for Life today. Anything can happen in Jersey. Must be 18 or older to buy a lottery ticket. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Rich Eisen here. For small businesses, every hire counts, and so does your time. Hiring can quickly become overwhelming, from sorting applications to figuring out who's truly qualified. That's where LinkedIn Hiring Pro helps. It streamlines the process so you can focus on connecting with the right candidates, not managing the noise. Hire right the first time. Post your job and get $100 off towards your job post at linkedin.com/Eisen. That's linkedin.com/Eisen. Terms and conditions apply.
Out on the course, they're the PGA Tour's best players. But in the arena, they're prime time. And Season 2 of TGL presented by SoFi is back with lights, cameras, action. We're talking big moments, big personalities, big names in the stands, all on the big screen. Big-time matchups with shot clocks, hammer drops, timeouts, overtime, and playoffs. It's city versus city, squad versus squad. The sport just hits different under the lights. It's TGL presented by SoFi. Keep up. It's golf. Tune into every match. Only on ESPN.
Jake Asman in for Michael K.
No Michael K!
Tomorrow, ESPN New York is taking over Calandra's Italian Village in Caldwell, New Jersey. Join Don, Hahn, and Rosenberg live starting at 3 p.m. with a special happy hour you do not want to miss. Come hang out, talk sports, and get ready for a huge night on the ice. Then stick around for the Rangers and the Devils watch party with a 7 p.m. puck drop. Big screens, great food, unbeatable atmosphere, and the best fans in hockey all under one roof. Reservations are recommended. To book your table, call 973-226-8889. See Don, Hahn, and Rosenberg live at Calandra's Italian Village in Caldwell, New Jersey, starting tomorrow at 3 p.m. Speaking of the Devils, I just saw this tweet from Jeff Passan. Team USA will wear game-worn U.S. Olympic hockey sweaters to Lone Depot Park today for the WBC final against Venezuela. Center fielder Pete Crow Armstrong and Olympic gold medalist Jack Hughes are partners with Fanatics, which delivered the jerseys for every member of Team USA. So that's pretty cool. Now, do the jerseys fit Aaron Judge, though? He's a pretty hefty fella. That's the question. Which Kachuk brother does Judge get to wear?
Yeah, you either need a Kachuk brother or Tage Thompson.
Yep. Got to look at the height of the hockey players, because it's fascinating how in hockey you could be really tiny and really good, and you can be massive as well. Kind of like baseball, ironically enough. That's pretty cool though, and it's cool to see how the U.S. baseball team has rallied around what the hockey teams have done. So I'm into it. I know not everyone loves the WBC, but I think if you're a fan of sport and you see the players care about it the way they do, and you see the atmospheres for these games, and if you're a baseball junkie like I am, having meaningful baseball in March to kind of get you set for the season is exciting. And the Yankee season starts in 8 days. The Mets season starts next week. So we're almost there. It kind of helps bridge the gap between the boringness and repetitiveness of spring training. Pitchers and catchers report. Cool. Now you got a month and a half until the games actually matter. That's just the reality. 800-919-3776. Now, Richard in Manhattan is currently on hold. Before I go to Richard, and he just steamrolls me and won't let me even make this point when he's on the air, I'd like to share the story of my interaction I had with Richard this past Friday. I went to the Big East live remote that the afternoon show was hosting, DHR. Right? We were in Moynihan Train Hall, and Richard in Manhattan was there. And Richard comes up to me, barely says hello, and he goes, Jake, Do you know there has not been a Game 7 World Series game at Yankee Stadium in 70 years? And he just kept yelling that at me. And I go, Richard, you're the absolute best. So, Richard in Manhattan, you're up next here on the Michael K. Show. Hello.
Hi, Jake. Jake, you can't change the world baseball. This has been fantastic. Don't change the date. Once every 3 years, I'm only interested in me, and I'm having a great time. I don't care who plays, who doesn't play the baseball. That's not my problem. I got other problems. I'm watching this. Now, that game, Venezuela-Japan, I fell in love with the Venezuelan team. I am rooting for them tonight. When I saw Acuna,
Hold on
go.
Hold on.
Well,
I'll let you finish, Richard.
Go ahead.
You just said you're rooting for Venezuela because you fell in love with them in a different exhibition game against Japan. You're rooting for Venezuela over the United States of America?
Correct.
Why?
Jake, I pay taxes. My father was a World War II Marine. I'm not worried about my Americanization.
Then how are you rooting for
and
a different country?
The American way is to root for the underdog. Okay.
That's not the American way. The American way is to root for America.
No, it's to root for the underdog.
No, it's
not. Well, all these guys, a lot of the players on Venezuela play for American teams. All right. Now, when I saw Acuna, he was 100% right.
God.
He check swing that pitch. He was right. He went ballistic. Did you see him? He was going to go after the umpire
You're
in an
rooting
exhibition
for
game.
Venezuela, Richard. I'm still on this. This is insane to me. Because you
I
fell
just
in
love
love with
the
them
way
in an
I love
exhibition
their
game.
passion. Okay, here's reason number two.
I love the
First
U.S.'s
of all, I
passion.
like the corner. I love the Miguel Cabrera holding him back. I thought that was fantastic. This was like Game 8 of the World Series to me. Okay, then what
So
they
root
did.
for your country.
Wait, but Jake, let me finish. When they bunted or attempted to bunt in the 8th inning with a 2-run lead, man on second, nobody out. Aaron Boone hasn't done that in 7 years with the Yankees. That's my style of baseball. He tried it once, the manager saw it didn't work, and then went back to regular thing. That's fine. But he did the right play even with a 2-run lead. None of this BS with analytics. Don't give up the out. They tried to move the runner off. That was unbelievable. I love this team.
Good luck.
All right.
Good luck to your Venezuelans tonight, okay?
Okay, now.
All right. Thank you very much. I can't listen to this anymore, Richard. Come on. I'm sitting here in disbelief. I kind of, blacked out, but did he say his dad or his grandpa was a World War II veteran?
He said father.
He said his father was a World War II vet, and he's rooting for the Venezuelans in the World Baseball Classic Championship game later. How does that make any sense?
Also, because they bunted to move a runner over and then failed to get the runner in. And even though it failed, he likes to see that they did that.
What are we doing? And then he's like, well, Aaron Boone would never. Aaron Boone's not the manager of Team USA. Hopefully Mark DeRosa is aware that this is the championship game tonight. He should play his best lineup. All right? I would like to at least get that statement on the record here on ESPN New York. But good God, man. Richard, you are one of a kind. How are you rooting for Venezuela? Your dad was a World War II veteran. The Team USA brought in the guy who killed Bin Laden to speak to the team the other night. Your dad is a World War II vet, and you're rooting for Venezuela? Oh, if Don LaGreca was listening to that, holy fraud alert. Oh, my God. I am mesmerized by that call from Richard. Really. Not to mention, I set up this whole thing. How he came up to me, was like, Jake, did you know there's never been a Game 7 at Yankee Stadium in 70 years? The first thing he says to me at the afternoon show remote last week. Doesn't even acknowledge that. Just goes right into his point, how he's rooting for Team Venezuela.
Had you known this on Friday, you would have had a word with him.
Oh, I would have turned my back to Benedict, Richard in Manhattan. Unbelievable. More of your calls. Good luck topping this one. Gilberto in the truck is next. Hello, Gilberto.
Yeah, what's up, Jake? Yo, that was a damn good idea, man. And I thought that was your uncle, Jake, Uncle Richard. That was a great idea with the WBC. They should make it the All-Star Week and have the same participants participating against each other, regardless if they played for another major league team. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I'm all for expanding this, Gilberto, or doing it at a different time, because I think if you want to get truly the best players and you don't want to have some of these like pitch restrictions on some of these guys. It would need to be held when these guys are in midseason form, similar to the Four Nations face-off for hockey. It's going to be tricky, though, because baseball is all about the 162 games and the record-keeping that's associated with that. Are the players going to be willing to play less games for it, or is baseball going to be willing to do it?
That All-Star week, make the All-Star week count towards the season.
Well, I don't think you could do that, though.
You can't?
You can't make games for a country count for regular season standings. It's just not going to work. There's no format for that. How does that make any sense?
I would think that the games that they play at the All-Star would project for something else, like a first-round draft pick, extra cash. But I think they should incorporate your idea, the WBC, okay, because it's a beautiful game. The competition was vibrant. Everybody was enthusiastic. Even Richard, I'm pretty sure he enjoyed it very much with the bunt.
He fell in love with Venezuela. Yeah. Gilbert, I understand what you're saying, man, and I appreciate the call. I don't think you could make it count for regular season games. There's just no way to do that for 30 MLB teams. What you could do is you could instead maybe do it every 3 years, every 4 years, if that's the sacrifice you got to make financially if you're baseball to do this event. So you could shorten the season to enough to, let's say, it's 154 on when it's a WBC year. If that's the case, you shorten it, or you play double headers built in on your schedule like they used to do back in the day, every Sunday's 2 games. Maybe you do that X amount of times throughout the course of the regular season to make up for the fact you're going to take a week and a half, 2 weeks every 3 or 4 years and play the WBC around the All-Star break. Or some might say, I've enjoyed the WBC. Leave it in March. It gives me something to watch to get set for regular season baseball. I see that argument as well, because I've enjoyed the World Baseball Classic, and the players obviously care. So it really comes down to, what does baseball want? Do they want to make it bigger and better? Then you would have to do it during the All-Star break if you want the best of the best to be in it. If you don't, and you're fine with it being an exhibition in March as a tune-up to the regular season, and baseball gets some momentum going into the year, that's okay as well. But I don't think you could do this tournament over just the week All-Star break. That's not enough time. Think about it. Monday is the home run, or Monday's the media day for the All-Star break. Tuesday, actually, you know what? Monday is media day and the home run derby. Tuesday's the game. And then Wednesday and Thursday are the off days, and then baseball resumes on Friday. That's not enough time to do the full tournament. So what baseball would have to decide is, do we do this tournament and take 2 weeks every 3 or 4 years and do it in place of the All-Star break? Expand that out. Start the season a week earlier. Maybe do some doubleheaders on Sunday to make up the games. Because I doubt baseball is going to get the players to agree, yeah, you guys have to take a pay cut because we're only paying you for over 154 games that year. So I'm sure MLB is going to want to make up the games, which is why I'd suggest you either start the season a week early or you do doubleheaders on Sundays a couple times a year to make up the games you're losing. Just an idea. I'm fine with it staying in March, but I know people are talking about how to make this trade go to the next level, or this tournament, I should say, go to the next level. That might be the only way. 800-919-3776. More on the WBC when we come back. We got to get to some football news next hour as well. Bruce Pearl will join us to preview the NCAA tournament at 2:30. Jake Asman in for Michael K. till 3 right here on 880 ESPN New York and the ESPN New York app.
It's tournament time when the most talented teams survive and advance. And whether you're cutting down the nets or cutting through resumes, one thing's clear. The best teams are built with the best people. If you're hiring, you need ZipRecruiter. Their smart matching technology finds qualified candidates fast. You can add screening questions to get the right applicants and even filter to see who's recently active. Score the best for your team with ZipRecruiter. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/sports. That's ZipRecruiter.com/sports. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Hey, John, why so glum?
I just got let go. The company's downsizing. This is the third time in the last 2 years.
I'm done with this. Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out. Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. Mycomputercareer.edu, an Elite CompTIA certification partner. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
Hi, this is Don LaGreca. Just like the New Jersey Devils protect their home ice, Viking Pest Control protects your home. And I know because I use Viking at my own place. As the pest control provider and proud partner of the New Jersey Devils, Viking brings 45 years of trusted experience and expert service to keep ants, cockroaches, stinging insects, rodents, and even mosquitoes out of your zone. Their local team builds a personalized game plan that actually works. And when you bundle pest control and mosquito services, you score big savings. One call, one company, total peace of mind. Visit VikingPest.com, protecting your home inside and out.
Life is motion, but for Jaime, debilitating pain in both hips brought everything, including family time, to a halt.
Every doctor told me the same thing. They would do one hip at a time.
At White Plains Hospital, Dr. Jacob Totka's unique expertise provided an alternate approach by replacing both of Jaime's hips on the same day.
In just 2 hours, I got 2 new hips, and I went home that day.
White Plains Hospital, among the best hospitals anywhere that just so happens to be here. A member of the Montefiore Health System.
At Uline, the prevailing opinion is, if you don't live it, you don't believe it. The people at Uline believe in hard work, and they live it by being there 24/7 to answer your call, having 41,000 items in stock, and offering same-day shipping from 12 locations across North America. Business owners, sellers, buyers, shippers, and packers believe it. Uline is the hard-working, dependable source for your shipping and industrial supplies. Visit uline.com.
What if your instincts could pay off? With Robinhood Prediction Markets, you could put your knowledge to work on the events that matter to you. Prediction Markets isn't just sports. It's the Fed rate decision, your favorite award show, and so much more beyond the playing field. Trade events with Robinhood. Visit Robinhood.com/predict. That's Robinhood.com/predict. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm.
There's a lot of reasons why people buy at Ramsey Mazda. It's their selection, it's their customer service, and it's their savings. Lease a new 2026 Mazda CX-90 Turbo Select with all-wheel drive for $279 for 36 months. Or buy with 1.9% APR for 36 months. Start shopping now at RamseyMazda.com. Choose wisely. Choose Ramsey Mazda. Call 833-853-2970 for lease details. VIN T1362010. MSRP $40,680. Zero security deposit. 1.9% APR at $28.60 per month per $1,000 financed, ends 3/31/26.
Switching to Progressive is a game-winning call. And that reminds us of other game-winning calls in the history of sports.
So it was the fourth quarter and we're down by 5. Sweat pouring down my face. Suddenly it hit me. If only I could wrap part of the towel around my forehead. And that's how I became the first basketball player to wear a headband.
Okay, not really a game-winning call, but it was a good call. You can make one too. Switch to Progressive and you could save hundreds. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states.
Get into the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event and get away with a deal so right, it almost feels wrong. Because right now, you can get great deals on our most popular models, including our adventure-ready SUVs like the Hyundai Santa Fe or Santa Fe Hybrid and the Tucson or Tucson Hybrid. Plus, there's our bold and stylish Elantra, loaded with the latest tech. Or go all-electric with the Ioniq 5 or Ioniq 9. So get down to your local Hyundai dealer and get away with a deal you'll love during the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event. Visit HyundaiUSA.com for details.
Join ESPN New York for a huge rivalry night at the Calandras Italian Village in Caldwell, New Jersey. Play-by-play voice of the Devils, Don LaGreca. What a pitchfork in this one! And the Don, Hahn, and Rosenberg Show are taking over for a special live broadcast and Devils versus Rangers watch party on Wednesday, March 18th. Join the guys starting at 3 p.m. for a special happy hour and broadcast. Then stick around for the 7 p.m. puck drop with big screens, great food, and the best fans in hockey all under one roof. Reservations are recommended. Brought to you by Calandras Italian Village.
Jake Asman in for Michael K. here on St. Patrick's Day.
No Michael K.
Right now on ESPN, the Pat McAfee show has a Jake Asman tweet on their screen. They're discussing the conflicting reports from Mike Francesa and Connor Hughes over who's actually in charge of the New York Jets. So we will get to that coming up in the 2 o'clock hour. But Ray Dinahan in my ear goes, you see the McAfee show? I look up at one of our TV monitors, and there's at Jake Asman's tweet on the Mothership home channel there. So how about that? Real quick, before we get to game time here, I got a great tweet from someone. I just want to read it. This is from Joe P. Richard from Manhattan is a huge fraud. What kind of sense does it make that he's rooting for Venezuela because they bunted? Someone needs to contact Judge Don LaGreca. I mean, Don would have an aneurysm if he heard that call live. I hope he wasn't driving. I hope he was home or he didn't hear it. I mean, my God. Suffering Jim tweeted, can't wait for Friday. Don has to call Richard a fraud. He just told Jake he's rooting for Venezuela tonight. The Fox Den, every single Richard from Manhattan call, and it's the meme of the guy throwing the headphones off his ear. Les 23, love you for hanging up on Richard. Some strong takes from people on Richard rooting for Venezuela tonight because they bunted. It's not like his family's Venezuelan. He said his dad is a World War II veteran, and he's rooting for Venezuela because he fell in love watching them against Japan the other night. You say it out loud, you start laughing. Anyway, it's time for Game Time, which is brought to you by Tullamore Dew Irish Whiskey, because when it's game time, it's Tully time. Yankees playing the Rays, and the Mets are playing the Marlins in some spring training action. Real quick, Garrett Cole. This is a surprise, but it just shows you how far ahead of his recovery he potentially is. Garrett Cole is listed as the Yankees starting pitcher for Wednesday against the Red Sox. He's going to pitch 1 inning. It'll be his first time pitching in a game since he had Tommy John surgery about a year ago. So he's ahead of schedule. We'll see what that means for him to actually return to a mound in a regular season game. But really encouraging news if you're a Yankee fan. 7 p.m., Islanders in Toronto to play the Maple Leafs. 7:30, Knicks hosting the Pacers at the Garden. Coverage begins at 7 right here on 880 ESPN. And 8 p.m. tonight, we've been discussing it this hour, the U.S. plays Richard and Manhattan's Venezuela in the World Baseball Classic Final. Nolan McLean starting for Team USA. Tullamore Dew, the original triple distilled, triple blended, and triple cast matured Irish whiskey. Be sure to grab a Tullamore Dew or try the new Tullamore Dew Honey during today's action. Glasses up to enjoying Tullamore Dew responsibly. Let's get to more of your calls. Jonathan in L.A. is up next on the K Show. Hello, Jonathan.
Hi, Jake. Jake, I know a lot of people are not cool with Richard calling in. Me personally, I love it every time Richard calls in. You could hear drops, or you could hear surprises like today. That literally caught me off guard. He's going for the underdog Venezuela. And then he still tells you, Jake, let me finish my point. Oh, my goodness.
He's one of a kind. And his reasoning, too, Jonathan, I'll let you finish. His reasoning, too, beyond just the bunting is, I'm rooting for the underdog. I go, but it's your country. This is not like, rooting for a Cinderella in March Madness. So I get rooting for the underdog in that. This is literally your country. It's country pride, and he's rooting for Venezuela. Go figure.
And then he jumps from that to some basketball news. Richard, it's a treat. Keep calling in, Richard. I love your calls. Jake, regarding the WBC, I'm rooting for USA. I've been a fan since 2023. That really hooked me into it, and this year I got to go, and it was great. I really love it. It pumps me up, man. And then all these games, I really hope we have a great game. Last time Venezuela and USA played, it was a 9-7 game. I believe Trey Turner hit, I think, like an 8th inning grand slam. It came down to the wire. It was a really great game.
You're
correct.
Hope
we get that tonight.
Yep, that was in the quarterfinals. Yep, you're spot on. Trey Turner hit a grand slam in the 8th inning.
Yeah, it was a great game, so hopefully we get that today. Jake, what do you think about Bednar and Duvall on Sunday? They pitched pretty good. They look good. Judge is looking good. I think we're looking pretty promising. And Garrett Cole, I think the Yankees should take their time with them. No rush. It's the start of the year. Grab a page from the Dodgers last year. All of their pitchers, they got them in August. Take your time with Garrett Cole, and we should be good, Jake. Jake, great show, man.
Jonathan, I appreciate the call. I agree with you on Cole. They should obviously slow play things. You need Garrett Cole for October. You don't need him for early April, May. Take your time with him. Now, he might be begging to come back early if he's already pitching an inning on Wednesday. So maybe they don't put him on the 60-day DL and see if he could come back closer to mid-May as opposed to early June. Maybe. But you got to be extra careful with Cole, because the athlete is always going to want to push themselves, especially a bulldog ace like Garrett Cole. He's 35 years old, coming off Tommy John. Take your time. All right, this guy is a key to the Yankees winning it all this year if they're going to. And they have enough pitching, I believe, to get by where you don't need to rush Garrett Cole. So I don't think they will, but I think you have to be really encouraged that this guy is going to be able to make his spring training start now, even if it's just an inning. And they have like the technology now where they could track the speed, but also the velocity and the spin rate, and all his stuff is tracking to be what it was pre-surgery. So he's getting healthy quick, and this is a major step that he actually could pitch an inning of a spring game tomorrow. I mean, it's exciting. Him, Rodon, Schlittler, Fried, if you could get these guys healthy, that's a power rotation, not to mention some of the arms the Yankees clearly have in their system that could play a role at some point. Schlittler wasn't going to play a role a year ago, but he impressed in spring training. He got an opportunity. You could never have enough pitching, and that saying has never been more true in today's game. I got a tweet from Josh Newman who says, Jake, I think the WBC is at the perfect time. Non-baseball fans check out of sports during the summer between the nice weather and vacation. Plus, players are choosing between spring training or competitive baseball versus the idea of having a week off with family. I think it's a great point, Josh. Now, I do think because of the success of this event, though, if they did actually have a 2-week All-Star break every 3 or 4 years for the WBC, you still would get the top players who want to be a part of it because you're doing it every 4 years. It's like the NHL players wanting to be a part of the Four Nations Classic, which was not the Olympics. It's just an exhibition, similar to what the WBC actually is. So I still think you'd get incredible turnout, but if you're someone who says, you know what, I love the WBC because it helps bridge the gap between spring training and the repetitiveness of spring training, it helps me get to the regular season, I got no problem with that. I just think if you want to truly get the best of the best in here, and you want to evaluate which nation actually is the best, if you do it when guys are in midseason form and there's no pitching limits, wouldn't it be amazing to watch Paul Skeens be able to go out there and shove and not have a 90 pitch count limit? I use that as an example, but that goes for all these guys. I'm into it, and I think the ratings reflect that a lot of people are as well. So, Nolan McLean, don't fail your country tonight. It might be St. Patrick's Day, but it's all about the USA tonight. McLean needs the luck of the Irish as a Irish pitcher on the mound tonight for the United States against Eduardo Rodriguez for the Venezuelans. Richard in Manhattan will be locked in wearing his Venezuelan jersey, rooting for them over USA. Sad. Hour 1 in the books. We got an hour to go. We have conflicting reports on who's actually in charge of the New York Jets. We'll get into that next right here on 880 ESPN New York and the ESPN New York app.
Right now, FanDuel is dropping bonus bets into everyone's account for the tournament. All you have to do is opt in to claim your bonus. Use them on your bracket picks, money lines, spreads, totals, game props, or even same-game parlays. But don't wait. These bonus bets are only available for a limited time. Just visit FanDuel.com/local to learn more. Right now, FanDuel is dropping bonus bets into everyone's account for the tournament. All you have to do is opt in to claim your bonus. Use them on your bracket picks, money lines, spreads, totals, game props, or even same-game parlays. But don't wait. These bonus bets are only available for a limited time. 21 plus and physically present in New York. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Max bonus $500 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
1-877 Cars for Kids. K-A-R-S Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Call 877-CARS-FOR-KIDS to reach a friendly live agent. Donation is super easy, and your car can be picked up as soon as tomorrow. Call us now or go to carsforkids.org.
7 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Did you know you can donate real estate too?
Hey, this is Jalen Brunson.
Jalen Brunson for 3.
And this is your home for New York Knicks basketball. This is 880 ESPN.
WHSQ and WCBS-FM HD2, New York.
25 a month, 5 whole years. Same sweet number in your ears. Check it in a year, check it in 5. This ain't my doing 5, but price is still alive. 25 a month, 5 whole years. Same sweet number in your ears. Get Optimum famously fast fiber internet. Optimum.com/25 for 5. Or call 8884-OPTIMUM. Terms apply. See Optimum.com for details.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/ESPN. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/ESPN. That's ZipRecruiter.com/ESPN. ZipRecruiter.com/ESPN.
ZipRecruiter.
If you've been injured on a construction site, then you need a lawyer who knows New York's unique labor laws. At the Parisman Firm, they have decades of experience handling construction accident cases and a proven track record of delivering huge results. Their team has already recovered nearly $1 billion for hardworking New Yorkers. From scaffold accidents to slip and falls and equipment failures, they've got your back. Call the Parisman Firm now at 718-WORKERS. That's right, 718-WORKERS, because your case is their cause. Get the justice you deserve today.
Hey, it's Alan Hahn. Rings End is your locally owned Benjamin Moore retailer. They're your store for quality with a full line of brilliant and durable Benjamin Moore paints. They're your store for inspiration with thousands of colors and a variety of sheens. And Rings End is your store for expertise with one-on-one advice for contractors and homeowners. Insist on Benjamin Moore paint from Rings End because the gorgeous color you love can't be matched in another brand of paint.
Evan Cohen here. In life, as in sports, the pros make it look easy. That's why pro golfers like Jason Day, Ben Griffin, and Patton Kazire trust the pros in lawn care. True Green. They have the experience and expertise to give you a lawn worthy of the PGA Tour. And since True Green does the work for you, you get more free time, or more tee times. So stop stressing over your lawn and start loving it. Sign up now at TrueGreen.com because nobody makes it easier to get a golf course quality lawn than True Green, the official lawn care treatment provider of the PGA Tour.
Okay, class, let's begin.
Psst, love your boots. I just sold a pair like that on eBay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it took like 2 seconds to list, and they sold almost immediately. I've been selling everything lately. Some chunky boots, a faux fur coat I never wore, and a vintage chair that was more of an expensive clothing rack.
You know, I actually bought these on eBay. Wait, are you Kitty Sell Stuff from Brooklyn?
Okay, quiet, please.
Find what you love. Sell what you don't. eBay. Things people love.
No, Michael K. Jake Asman in for Michael. 1 hour to go, taking you till 3. 800-919-3776. If you want in on the conversation, you also could tweet me at Jake Asman. Excellent tweet from at Rickhanson21. If you do the WBC during the All-Star break, what about the other leagues like the NPB? How would you get international leagues to agree to play in July if their seasons have already started? Well, you would have to get the buy-in from the other leagues. Simple as that. Again, I don't think they're going to move it anytime soon, but for those talking about moving it and making this truly about the best of the best, to me, it would have to be done around the All-Star break, as we talked about in the opening hour. But I'm not anticipating that. I am anticipating a fun game later, and I'll be rocking the USA jersey, and we'll see if the U.S. can win the WBC. It is St. Patrick's Day. If you're celebrating, enjoy. Today's one of those days where you have a lot of people in the New York City area. The Mount Rushmore of unemployed dudes commuting into New York City from New Jersey/Long Island to party. It's today, it's New Year's Eve, it's Thanksgiving Eve, and it's SantaCon. I saw that online earlier from Murray Hill guy, and I think he's spot on. Mount Rushmore of unemployed dudes commuting to New York City to party. SantaCon, Thanksgiving Eve, New Year's Eve, and today, St. Patrick's Day. I don't think that's wrong. I think that is spot on. 800-919-3776. Let's get to the old-fashioned source-off going on between retired radio host Mike Francesa and SNY Jets reporter Connor Hughes. So Mike, on his podcast last night, went on a 9-minute segment talking about how a good source that has given him accurate information in regards to the Jets previously told him that at some point last year or at the beginning of this offseason, Woody Johnson gave Darren Mougey full autonomy to run the New York Jets. That it is no longer Mougey reporting to Glenn. Mougey being Glenn's sidekick, to quote Woody Johnson at the introductory press conference for Glenn and Mougey last year. Woody Johnson gave the power to Darren Mougey. Francesa also said that Glenn is not on equal footing with Mougey and that their relationship isn't as smooth as it's been portrayed. Mougey is now in charge. It is not equal, quote. So that comes out yesterday, and Connor Hughes, who covers the Jets for SNY, he reported the following. There has been zero change to the Jets' organizational power structure this offseason, according to sources. The team is operating exactly as they have been. Reports to the contrary are factually incorrect. So here's how I interpret it. I don't think Mike just made this up. I don't think he just got it out of thin air. And I don't think Connor Hughes just made this up either. Maybe Connor's sources or the Jets who don't want this out there or trying to deny it, just maybe. Or maybe it's not true. But if you just look at where the Jets are at right now, and I've felt this way for months, and I've talked about this on my YouTube show where I talk about the Jets for 4 hours a day, all signs to me point to the fact that Darren Mougey's in better standing with the organization than the head coach, who went 3-14 in his first year and fired 9 of 21 assistants, including both coordinators. Aaron Glenn, at his combine press conference, referenced the fact that Darren Mougey and Rick Spielman, who's one of the assistants in the front office to Mougey, helped Glenn pick his coaching staff this go-around. If you look at the moves the Jets have made, Glenn's taken over the play calling on defense, so Mougey's gone out there and helped Aaron Glenn get some players to run his defense, but they have not made any move that indicates they're trying to be all in to win right now. They haven't made any crazy trades. They didn't go and trade some picks for Jalen Waddle, as we saw today the Denver Broncos do. Like, the Jets are trying to be better, but how much better could they actually be with Geno Smith as their quarterback? See, Glenn's got to win games to save his job. Mougey's not going to allow them, I don't believe, to make any all-in moves this year for 2026 when they're going to take their big swing at quarterback, I believe, in 2027 in a way better QB draft. So whether or not there's been a change in the structure or not officially, just the way they're operating feels different. Glenn got humbled last year. He looked inept. He was in over his head. There was every reason to make him one and done. And what saved him was the fact that he's one of the higher-paid coaches in the league because Woody Johnson got conned into hiring another first-time defensive coach with no previous experience being a head coach and gave him personnel power. But if you look at what Darren Mougey has done, really since the end of August, I think if you're a Jet fan, and you could be the most negative Jet fan out there, and believe me, I know plenty of them, it'd be tough to be that critical of the moves the GM has made. Look at the trades he's made. Let's start with the end of training camp. They used 6th-round picks to get Harrison Phillips, who will be a team captain this year. And he's still a good player in his role on the defensive line. And Jawan Briggs, who was a young, surprise, up-and-coming player they got in a different deal for a 6th-round pick. They made the trade in season for Jarvis Brownlee Jr., so they have their new nickel in their defense. He got hurt, but he was playing well before he got hurt. That was a 6th-round pick. They got back a 7th-round pick in that Brownlee deal with the Titans. Mougey took that 7th-round pick and turned it into Minka Fitzpatrick with the Miami Dolphins at the beginning of free agency last Monday. Again, they got absolute maximum value for Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams. 2 first-round picks for Sauce and A.D. Mitchell. And Mougey reportedly insisted on A.D. Mitchell being in the deal or he wasn't going to make the trade. That's awesome GMing. They got to hit on the picks. We'll get to that. But as far as value, people are now using the Sauce Gardner trade as like the barometer for what you need to get back if you're going to trade a star player away. That's been a reference point for teams. The Jets got more for Sauce Gardner than the Raiders got for Max Crosby before that deal fell apart, for example. And here's some of the brilliance, I think, of this general manager. In the Quinnen Williams deal, the Jets got a second-round pick, which is more than most people said they'd be able to get. And they got a first the following year, and it's the better of Dallas or Green Bay, their first-round pick. Meaning, if God forbid there's an injury to Dak Prescott, or God forbid there's an injury to Jordan Love, how do we know that pick doesn't end up being in the top 10? Remember, the Jets only have Garrett Wilson right now because in the Jamal Adams deal, the second year of that trade, Seattle had an injury to Russell Wilson, and they bottomed out, picked number 10, and the Jets thought they were going to get a pick in the late 20s, and instead it was a top 10 pick. How do we know that doesn't happen now, this upcoming season? We don't know. Not to mention the Colts. They have their first-round pick. Do the Colts look like a well-buttoned-up operation right now? Are they going to be really good? I don't know. I don't know if I trust Daniel Jones coming off Achilles surgery to be the same guy he was before it, at least right away. I think the Jets are set up. And if you paid attention to the trades and some of the signings that Mougey has made, I think he does have more sway than Aaron Glenn at this point. He's done his job at a far better level than Glenn has done his, and it's not even close. If you read body language, their end-of-season presser, Glenn with his tail tucked between his legs is what it looked like to me. And I saw Darren Mougey saying, no, we're going to be competitive and respectable right away. Like, not making any excuses. The Jets were awful last year, and they were playing Brady Cook the last 5 games of the season. They started 0-7 with a team that had talent. We don't need to have this revisionist history that the Jets were completely bereft of all talent. They weren't. If they had no talent, how'd they get what they got for Sauce and Quinnen Williams at the deadline, by the way? Did Quincy Williams just forget how to play football? Jamie and Sherwood just forgot how to play football? Or were they horribly coached? Was Justin Fields absolutely pathetic? And if you go back to what Glenn said on the record about Fields, that was his signing. He referred to it as I. You're not hearing Glenn say I anymore. I do think there's some credence to Mougey having more sway. I don't know if Francesa's right, they don't get along, or the relationship is not as buddy-buddy as we believe. That I had no idea. And Connor Hughes is reporting that nothing has changed with their dynamics, their power structure. But anyone who's not a dope can clearly see that the dynamics have changed inside that organization. The way Mougey's been covered by those on the beat, the way that, you talk to anyone around the league, they say, I don't know about Glenn, but you guys have a GM. I went to the Senior Bowl in Mobile. I was at the Super Bowl Radio Row this year, and I just got back 2 weeks ago from doing my show at the Combine. And anyone I spoke to, whether it be an agent, a coaching agent, a scout, someone who works for a different front office, someone who's a different coach, they all have good things to say about Darren Mougey. I think Woody Johnson recognizes that. They might actually have a competent GM. And just because Glenn helped get Darren Mougey hired doesn't mean that they're attached at the hip. I don't buy that. I think if Darren Mougey has a good draft with 4 picks in the top 44, there's a real scenario where if Glenn doesn't win enough games in 2026, Mougey's going to pick the next coach. He'll be a part of picking the next coach, and Glenn won't be here. Because why do they have to be attached at the hip if you actually have someone who's shown the ability to be a forward-thinking general manager like I believe Mougey has? I think he's done his job well. He used the tag on Brees. Didn't let him walk for nothing. They have a good offensive line. The first draft, day 3 aside, they got to clean that up. But the first draft, give Glenn credit for that as well, was pretty good. There's some pieces here. And they have 8 premium picks over the next 2 years, including 5 first-rounders. So Glenn's got to win games. Otherwise, he will not be here. And I could see Mougey definitely being here. Anyone who's been following, I don't think it's crazy to think that there's a real chance that Darren Mougey's the Jets GM a year from now and Aaron Glenn's not. And I'll tell you what, Darren Mougey's got ties to Denver. How do we know the Jets don't hire Davis Webb as their head coach a year from now? They might have a top pick. They're going to draft the quarterback. Davis Webb is such a highly regarded offensive mind. Sean Payton, who's a Hall of Fame coach, stepped down from being the play caller. So Davis Webb, he wouldn't lose him, and he'd be the offensive coordinator for the year. Mougey knows him. How do we know this job's not attractive for a guy like Mike Tomlin? 3 first-round picks. Pick your quarterback. Sean McDermott. Kevin O'Connell was Darren Mougey's roommate in college. What if the Vikings with Kyler Murray or J.J. McCarthy bottom out? I'd hire KOC in a second. Again, Glenn's got to win to save his job, but I'm not 100% convinced that, Mougey's just gone no matter what, and he's attached at the hip to Glenn. I don't believe that's the case. I had Rich Samini on my Jet podcast 2 weeks ago before free agency, and Rich gave me the quote, Mougey's no sidekick. And I think that is clear if you've been following this team. 800-919-3776, number to call to be on the show. Jake Asman in for Michael K. till 3.
No Michael K.
Let's get to your calls now, shall we? Ryan in Rumson is first up this hour. Hello, Ryan.
Hey, Jake. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Ryan. What do you got for us?
So I'm just going to comment on you and Francesa's assessment on their relationship. I'm kind of approaching this from a facts, kind of not feelings lens. I don't think that Francesa still has sources within the organization, given he's so far removed from the radio scene. I would say that the moves are characterized as Glenn moves, because if we see how Brian Branch emerged as a star in Detroit, I think he's trying to run that nickel safety when he traded for Minka. I think that Glenn had a big say on him getting his nickel safety, which he had so much success in his scheme. And I think it's also crazy to say that he has little to say in personnel or signings, because Gino and Davis referenced Glenn's phone call as being something that seals the deal, and that was big to them signing on to be part of the Jets.
Well, Ryan, here's the thing, though. I'm not saying that Aaron Glenn is powerless. I think him and Mougey are working together. I just think the final say is now in Darren Mougey's hands. It's no longer Glenn. That's my personal feeling on this. And the Jets could deny it all they want. I don't believe them. They've denied things many times. Oh, we're not firing Mike McCagden. These reports of Gase and McCagden not getting along aren't true. Guess what happened? They fired Mike McCagden after the draft. So I'm not sitting here telling you that Glenn has no say. He's giving input to Mougey. I think Mougey wants to make it work with Glenn. He's giving him defensive players that fit the system the Jets are going to run with Glenn. Gino did reference the conversation he had with Glenn when he spoke with the media as part of the reason he was excited about being with the Jets again. I don't think Mougey's is going rogue and saying, sit there in the corner, Aaron, you're no longer having any input. I think they're working together, but I think there's a real path where Mougey's here and Glenn's not. Remember, Adam Gase hired Joe Douglas. Douglas fired Adam Gase after the 2020 season. It could happen. It happens with the Jets a lot. 800-919-3776. Let's say hi to Vinny, who's in Staten Island. He's up next on the K Show. What's up, Vinny?
Hi, Jake. How are you? They are letting Aaron Glenn hang himself. He's going to hang himself with his own rope. They let him be the defensive coordinator. The team's got nothing on defense this year. I don't care who they signed. They're going to have another 4 or 5 win season. Mougey's going to fire him. You've seen the subtle change last year during the year. Glenn is he's not a good head coach. He had horrific losses last year, no interceptions all year, and he's a defensive back and a defensive coach. He was never even a great defensive coach with the Lions. I think there was discussions about getting rid of him this year, but they wanted to save face because they signed him for such a big contract. But in that case, Glenn's a goner. You're not going to win nothing with him. He can't run a team, coach defense, and the head coach. That's why they brought in. Frank Reich as well. I think he's your next head coach.
Vinny,
Jay, thank you. Have a nice day.
You got it, Vinny. Look, if they get off to a terrible start, it's not crazy to sit here and think Frank Reich's going to be the interim head coach. Again, Glenn started 3-14 in his first year. They were 0-7 last year. He's not surviving an 0-7 start. It is imperative for the Jets to get off to a better start. People ask all the time, well, what does Glenn have to do to be back for a third year? Well, it's not just the total amount of wins. It's getting off to a good start. If they start 1-5 and he's 4-19 as his record so far, is Woody Johnson, who's approaching 80, going to be patient? Or is he going to yank Aaron Glenn out of the job like he did Robert Saleh 5 games in 2024? Now, what I would do if I was Woody is I'd let Glenn coach the entire year no matter what. Don't make any in-season firings. Because you don't want to give the illusion that you're a total dumpster fire and you're an absolute mess. Get through the year. If Glenn can't turn it around, you could easily fire him and say, we gave him 2 years. It didn't work. We have 3 first-round picks in 2027. The roster is going to be in a much better place a year from now than it currently is because they have 4 picks this year in the top 44. You would be an attractive job for the right coach. You would be. You fire Glenn in season, you're a mess. I don't know if you want that. Just get through the year. You didn't fire Adam Gase in his second year. Now, that was Chris Johnson, not Woody. But still, point stands. Just get through the year. Give Glenn the full year. But you could already know that he's done if he gets off to a start that is similar to what the 2025 Jets got off to, because that was just a joke. An absolute joke. Phil in Atlantic City, up next on the K Show with Jake Asman. Hello, Phil.
Good afternoon, Pitch. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Originally, I wanted to talk about the mock draft of Mel Kiper, but just in general, when it comes to this team and the success of Glenn, like with Mougey, I think Mougey's done well. He needs to land some stars with his picks coming up to really solidify whether he's the guy or not. And then in terms of Glenn, I think he's just got a shot at winning some games and running a team. Otherwise, they'll move on quickly. And every name that you mentioned, from O'Connell to Tomlin, I'd much rather have. But it's going to just determine on his level of success and nothing else.
Look, I feel like I got to win games. Otherwise, they're going to have a new head coach next year. I mean, that's the bottom line. And no one's expecting the Jets to be a playoff team, but they were not competitive at the end of last year. And there was a report from Rich Cimini at that time that Woody Johnson was pissed. So to all those saying they're tanking. Well, why was Woody pissed? Well, maybe because it wasn't just that they were losing. They lost by an NFL record 25 or more points 5 straight weeks. It's never happened in the history of football. No team has ever gone 17 games without an interception like what the Jets just did. And they have a defensive coach. And the head coach has the audacity to say play calling is his superpower, but he didn't once take over the defense at any point last year. And let me say this for Mougey as well. I like Darren Mougey. I think he's done his job as well as he could do it, given the limited opportunities he's had to truly fix this team. He didn't hire the coach. His quarterback was Justin Fields. He's got to take some of the blame in that, but I think truly, if you listen to Glenn's comments back then, that was more Glenn than Mougey. But still, Mougey gets criticism for that. That's fine. He's going to be judged on the big swing they take at quarterback and what I believe will be the 2027 draft. They might draft someone this year. Maybe Ty Simpson makes it to pick 33 and they take him. But the big swing that we evaluate this general manager on is going to be when they draft the quarterback. Whether it's Arch Manning or C.J. Carr or Julian Sayin or Dante Moore or Lenora Sellers. There's a lot of QBs. We don't know who will emerge. That's how he's going to be judged. Bobby and Yonkers up next on the K Show. Hello, Bobby.
Hey, Jake. Good to hear you again. I'd still think, and obviously the coach is on the hot seat if he doesn't at least get 6. But I think Mougey's got to get a quarterback, whether it's Simpson at 16 or 33, because Gino's not going to – we're not going to be that good. So you're going to need somebody coming in week 12 or 13 to at least give you a little hope. And then, yeah, you can draft a quarterback the next year too. But Mougey has to land somebody that's at least backup status or a good starter. I would like him to get Simpson at 16 and 33. I'd like to hear your comments, and good luck on your career.
Bobby, thank you. Here's the thing with taking Simpson at 16. I would say if you're the Jets and you didn't have 3 firsts next year, roll the dice because you either have a quarterback or you don't. But you do have 3 first-round picks next year, and it's considered to be a way better quarterback class. And I like Ty Simpson. I'm the guy who got the interview of Ty doing the Jet chant at the Combine a few weeks ago. He's a super nice kid, and he's healthy now, right? He had a back injury, and to take medication for the back injury, he got stomach inflammation and went from 215 pounds to 190 pounds. It clearly affected his play. And you could sit here and try and excuse it, whatever. I'm just telling you that's what happened with Ty Simpson. I like him, but he's made 15 career starts. And if you look at guys with that many starts that go in the first round, other than Cam Newton 15 years ago, it's a pretty bad list. Like the best quarterback on that list is maybe Kyler Murray. You're talking about guys like Mitch Trubisky, Ryan Tannehill, Anthony Richardson, Trey Lance. I'd be very weary of a quarterback who's made 15 career starts. I just would. I wouldn't do it. I would take Ty at pick 33. I would even do what the Giants did with Dart, where they moved back into the end of round 1, and the Jets had the ammunition to do it. But the 16th pick in the draft, if you're the Jets and you have 3 firsts in 2027, and my head coach is on the hot seat, I wouldn't take Ty Simpson. Because everyone says he needs to sit and learn. How's he going to sit and learn on the Jets and then get into action and show us enough with, 10 games? Then we know, we got our guy. We don't need to take a quarterback in a loaded class in 2027. I just think it muddies the waters too much and complicates things. If he's there at 33, no problem with it. It's a second-round pick. It doesn't prevent you from, if it doesn't work out, taking another swing in round 1 in 27. But 16, man, you could get a impact player that could be part of your team for 5+ years. I'd rather that than taking the dart throw on a guy with 15 career starts. I just wouldn't do it. We'll talk some NCAA tournament with CBS Sports basketball analyst and former head coach of the Auburn Tigers, Bruce Pearl, when we get back. Keep it right here. Jake Asman in for Michael Kay. It's ESPN New York and the ESPN New York app.
Start spreading the news. New York Yankees baseball is back in the Bronx. Come out to Yankee Stadium on Saturday, April 4th for a Yankee Stadium promotional giveaway tradition. Calendar night. The first 40,000 in attendance will receive a New York Yankees calendar courtesy of MasterCard. For tickets, log on to Yankees.com/tickets. Again, it's Yankees calendar night on Saturday, April 4th against the Miami Marlins. Visit Yankees.com/tickets today.
New York Knicks fans, here's a total slam dunk. For a limited time, get Verizon Fios and a line of mobile for just $64.99 a month with AutoPay. Get Fios 300 megabit per second for $20 a month. And unlimited welcome for $45 a month plus taxes and fees when you bring your own phone. Visit a Verizon store today to learn more. For new Fios internet and mobile customers, discounts applied over 36 months. Mobile and home discount enrollment required. Additional terms apply. In times of congestion, unlimited 5G and 4G LTE may be temporarily slower than other traffic. Domestic data roaming at 2G speeds.
Hi, this is John D'Agostino from D'Agostino & Associates, the injury firm. I've talked about how a construction accident took my father's leg. The heavy prosthetic he wore looked nothing like the high-tech limbs we have today. It was crude wood and metal, held together by bolts that dug into his skin and left painful ulcers. But the thing I remember about my dad is how he never complained. He put on his prosthetic leg and he went to work. He coached my baseball teams, danced, sang karaoke, and even loved to travel. He may have limped, but he always held his head up high and he lived with dignity. At D'Agostino & Associates, I spent over 35 years building a law firm that helps accident victims and those in need of their Social Security disability benefits. We fight till our clients get the money and dignity they deserve. So call us today at 1-800-BITE-BACK. That's 1-800-248-3222. We have offices throughout New York and New Jersey. So don't tell me personal injuries aren't personal. I know what they can cost a family. I've been there, and I'll be there for you. D'Agostino Law, bite back.
Everyone needs to take care of their mental health, even running back Bijan Robinson.
When I'm on the field and feeling the pressure, I usually just take a deep breath. When I'm just breathing and seeing what's in front of me, everything just slows down. It just makes me feel great before I run the play.
Just like Bijan, we all need a strong mental game on and off the field. Make a game plan for your mental health at loveyourmindplaybook.org.
Love your mind.
Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Foundation, the Arthur M. Blank Family Foundation, and the Ad Council.
At Uline, they know going the extra mile takes hard work. For companies pushing to go further, Uline will go the distance with you. 24/7, they answer the phone to get you the shipping and industrial supplies you need. Business can move fast. Unexpected large orders, adverse weather, new safety guidelines, and changing economic trends. Uline works hard keeping 41,000 items ready to ship, minimizing detours on your way to the extra mile. Visit uline.com.
You remember what it feels like to move without thinking about pain? To get up, sit up, walk, work, or live without that constant ache? If neck pain, back pain, joint pain, or sciatica took that away from you, it's time to get it back. I'm Bart Scott. Dr. J. Shaw at Sandwell Pain is the guy you need. Ivy League trained, double board certified, no surgery, no scars, no long recovery, just precise, image-guided, non-surgical treatments designed to get you feeling strong again. With offices in Woodbridge, Livingston, and Inglewood, and most major insurances are accepted, there is no reason to wait. Go to SandwellPain.com. Relief is closer than you think.
I'm Boomer Esiason. My mom died from cancer. She was only 37 years old. She didn't have life insurance, and that was devastating for my family. That's why having life insurance is so important to me. Ethos makes it fast and easy. Get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. You can get up to $3 million in coverage with no medical exam.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/play. That's ethos.com/play. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Rich Eisen here. For small businesses, every hire counts, and so does your time. Hiring can quickly become overwhelming, from sorting applications to figuring out who's truly qualified. That's where LinkedIn Hiring Pro helps. It streamlines the process so you can focus on connecting with the right candidates, not managing the noise. Hire right the first time. Post your job and get $100 off towards your job post at linkedin.com/Eisen. That's linkedin.com/Eisen. Terms and conditions apply.
Jake Asman in for Michael K right here on 880 ESPN New York. Time now for the tournament update brought to you by Schweppes. UMBC plays Howard for the 16th seed in the Midwest region later. That's at 6:40. 9:15, Texas plays NC State for the 11th seed in the West region. That was the tournament update presented by Schweppes. Schweppes delivers above-the-rim refreshment. Feel the madness and refresh your game with a Schweppes Seltzer or Schweppes Ginger Ale. Speaking of the NCAA tournament, I'm excited about our next guest. I got to know this guy when I did radio down in Houston, and the Houston Rockets took one of his players in the top 5 of the NBA draft. Former Auburn basketball coach, now part of the CBS Sports College basketball team, Bruce Pearl, joins us here on the Michael K. Show. Bruce, it's Jake Asman in New York. Thanks so much for coming on.
Jake, great to be with you again. Thank you.
So for you, Coach, how weird is this? I mean, you're sitting here covering the tournament instead of being a part of it. Has it set in for you yet that you're going to be at the desk watching all these games instead of being in these games as a coach?
Well, it's a lot less stress talking about them than it is coaching and preparing them and understanding what all that's at stake. You know, if I hadn't been a head coach for 30 years or been coaching for 48, you know, I might miss it a little bit more than I do, but I was ready to pass the baton, and I'm really excited about covering it, calling it, and trying to bring the viewer and the listener into that locker room so they've got a really good idea about what they could expect.
Take us inside what it's like from a coach perspective. The bracket comes out, you see who you're playing. What is like the first couple things you immediately have to do for you and your staff to get your team ready?
Well, number one, you treat each weekend as a full-game series. We've got 3 other teams, including ourselves, and one of us are going to advance. All right, so I'm going to get on. I've got to obviously take each team. I'll give a group of assistant coaches that I put them on 3 teams throughout the season. They will grab an opponent and begin to do their scouting. One of the things that I really like to do in preparation, I wanted my coaches to focus on the teams that beat these teams. Watch them play. What was it about what they did in that matchup that helped them win that game? I don't want to watch a lot of games, and I don't have a lot of time, of this team doing all the things that they like to do that are really easy. I don't need all of that. I may watch one of that. I want to watch a team that they struggled with.
Bruce Pearl is our guest, talking all things NCAA tournament. Coach, what to you is the biggest mistake that teams can do in the preparation for March Madness?
I mean, just don't change. If it's not broke, don't fix it. You got here for a reason. You're pretty good. I wasn't superstitious, but I believe very much in some sort of consistency and what our preparation it would be. I would also try to give the kids some confidence in the sense that, you know, historically coaches know each other in league. We've gone up against each other so many times, and we know what's coming next. This is an opportunity to start fresh, and it's an opportunity to, to be able to not play an opponent that does not know everything that you're doing, and then understand that we are like 2 wins away from the Sweet 16. Like, we've won 2 games back-to-back all year long. We've won 7 game, 9 game, whatever. We only got to win 2 games, guys, to get to the Sweet 16. We only need to win 4 games to get to the Final Four. Are you kidding me? Where can I sign up for that? You want to try to make it simple, and you want to try to make it look doable for your program.
So, Coach, we're based in New York. We're the home of St. John's, and many of us were surprised that St. John's, despite beating UConn to win the Big East championship game and beating UConn 2 out of the 3 times they played, it's St. John's as a 5 seed, and they got to go all the way out to San Diego, and UConn is a 2 seed in just an absolutely loaded East region with a ton of blue bloods. What was your reaction to seeing the seeding, and do you think St. John fans have a right to feel like, hey, wait a second, why are we only a 5 seed?
So where is the regional final?
I'd have to
for
look.
St. John's. Where would that?
Is it Philadelphia for that one? I'd have to look it up at the top of my head.
Yeah, so I think they come back east for that, and that's when you really need a home court advantage or something for your fans. In other words, I don't worry about them going out to San Diego. They've got a very tough first round matchup in Northern Iowa, and I would have picked Northern Iowa as an upset team had they not been playing against anybody as strong quite as St. John. That's a tough draw for Northern Iowa. That's a tough draw for St. John's. And look, you would expect Kansas to win obviously in advance. And that's a very, very tough matchup. Look, the East is the hardest region. It's all the blue bloods. You don't ever want to play a team that might have the best player on the floor, in Kansas, in Peterson. But look, I think the St. John's team could get to the Final Four. I've got them in my bracket getting to the Final Four. The Duke's really good, but they're a little banged up, and they've got some, they lost their point guard Foster. And it's not going to be easy. I also like the fact that St. John's kind of got knocked out last year early, and I look for teams like Virginia that lost a 116 game and came back the following year and won a national championship. My Auburn team got upset in the 5-12 game against Yale, came back, and we were the number 1 overall seed and got to the Final Four. So, look, no matter where you are, you got to play tough teams. I think they could have made the argument for a 4, but who cares? 4 or 5 is the same seed. You still got to play the 9. I don't think the body of work is enough to get to the 3 line. Rick Pitino is going to love playing that card of where they've disrespected us. They sent us all the way to California. He'll use all that to his advantage.
So, Coach, looking at the other 1 seeds, you mentioned Duke. How about Arizona, Michigan, Florida? Who looks the most like a national champion caliber team to you?
Well, I think that my 2 favorite teams this year were Arizona and Michigan. And I also think that both Arizona and Michigan have got a slightly, I shouldn't say, I think Michigan's got a slightly easier path. Arizona's got a tough path because they got great point guard play in that region, and they got really hot teams. Wisconsin, Purdue, Arkansas, all playing their best basketball right now. But I think Arizona's the best team in the country, and I think they're going to cut down the nets in Indianapolis. I think Michigan is going to survive that regional. They've got some tough battles. Alabama, if they advance, could spread them and shoot it. And there are teams like Virginia and Iowa State in that bracket. But it's not the gauntlet that is in the East. I don't think it's hard as the West. And I think Florida and Houston have got a chance to meet up in Houston for a ticket to the Final Four.
Bruce Pearl is our guest right here on ESPN New York. Of course, former Auburn basketball coach, went to the Final Four twice. Now you can watch him, part of CBS's coverage for the NCAA tournament, which gets underway later this week. Coach, in terms of just what actually wins in this tournament, you're the perfect guy to ask, because I've heard some people say, well, it's elite guard play, it's defense, experience, but it also could sometimes just be, hey, you have the best player on the floor, that matters the most. What, in your opinion, actually translates to the most kind of success in this tournament for those filling out their brackets?
Well, matchups matter, and that's hard for people filling out brackets because they don't understand what the matchups are all about. Defense and rebounding win championships. You got to bring it every single night. I thought the fact that Purdue was able to offensively do what they did against Michigan. Michigan did not control their destiny defensively, and that's the thing you got to hang your hat on night in and night out. And that's why your best defensive teams and your best rebounding teams are ultimately going to get there. But at the end of the day, that last factor would be if a team is just having a bad shooting night, whether it be from the foul line or the three-point line. You got to defend, you got to rebound, and you got to make shots. And the teams that do that are the ones that are going to win.
Last year, it was a very chalky type of tournament with the Final Four being, of course, the most dominant seeds. Have we seen maybe less Cinderella-like runs in this tournament, Coach, because of NIL and the transfer portal, or was last year just maybe a bit of an outlier?
No, I think it's going to be very chalky this year. I will say, though, last year, the top 4 teams in the country were clearly better than everybody else. That's not the case this year. So I would not anticipate 4 ones, but I do anticipate the 1s and the 2s having the best chances of getting there. I do think that if you're looking for upsets, you want to look in the first round. You want to look at your 6-11 matchups across the board. There are a handful of 5-12s that could be of interest, and there might be a 4. That could get beat in the first round in this tournament. So it's going to be, the tournament itself is going to be incredible, and it all tips off tonight.
And you don't have to worry about the stress anymore, Coach. So appreciate you hopping on. Thanks so much.
Many times. Great to be with you again.
Bruce Pearl, former head coach of Auburn, 2-time coach that got them to the Final Four in 2019 and 2025. He won 21 NCAA tournament games, and Auburn was one of the first 4 out, and his son is the head coach. So still has to cover the whole thing and doing a great job on CBS. But good stuff there for Coach Bruce Pearl. And he's right. So much of it is matchups, but last year was so chalk with the top 4. It's good to hear from an expert that it's not that level of chalk this year. At least it shouldn't be. Because you do want some upsets. I think you want the best teams at the end of the day, but you want some upsets. Now, Matt Bumbaka is wearing a Wisconsin Badgers shirt, and he's pointing at the logo. 1, did you go to Wisconsin, Bumbaka? And 2, are you a huge Wisconsin Badgers hoops fan?
Definitely a big Badger hoops fan. I did not attend Wisconsin. I had a lot of family graduate from there. I think they got a really good team. But they are very similarly to St. John's in a tough, 5-seed spot where they're facing High Point, 12 seed. That 5-12 is always a notoriously tough matchup.
There's always a rule for those who fill out brackets. Always pick a 12 to beat a 5 at least somewhere, because pretty much every tournament that happens.
Exactly. That's a tough spot to be in. So I don't know which 12 seed is going to actually get the upset, but one of them's going to fall.
Yep. And as far as St. John's goes, I like the point that Bruce Pearl made. Hey, they'll have the East Region final in the East for their fans, but that's a tough draw because you've got to play Kansas in the round of 32. I understand Kansas is not, the typical Kansas with Bill Self we're used to seeing this year. That's still really tough for a St. John's team that got beat by Calipari in Arkansas in the round of 32 last year. I think anything short of St. John's getting to the Sweet 16 would be considered a disappointment. As great as it is to win the Big East, regular season and tournament, 2 straight years, which I thought it was crazy. That's never happened in the history of the tournament until St. John's has done it. You still want more in March. You want to get to a Sweet 16 for the first time in 25 years. That's got to be the bare minimum. 800-919-3776. Final segment coming up. We'll end with your calls. Mel Kiper's mock draft. I think will make many Jet fans crazy. We'll mix that in and your calls before we wrap things up. Keep it right here. Jake Asman in for Michael K. right here on 880 ESPN New York, the ESPN New York app, and the ESPN New York YouTube channel.
Right now, FanDuel is dropping bonus bets into everyone's account for the tournament. All you have to do is opt in to claim your bonus. Use them on your bracket picks, money lines, spreads, totals, game props, or even same-game parlays. But don't wait. These bonus bets are only available for a limited time. Just visit FanDuel.com/local to learn more. Right now, FanDuel is dropping bonus bets into everyone's account for the tournament. All you have to do is opt in to claim your bonus. Use them on your bracket picks, money lines, spreads, totals, game props, or even same-game parlays. But don't wait. These bonus bets are only available for a limited time. 21 plus and physically present in New York. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Max bonus $500 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
1-877-CARS for kids. K-A-R-S, Cars for kids. 1-877-CARS for kids. Donate your car today.
Call 877-CARS for Kids to reach a friendly live agent. Donation is super easy, and your car can be picked up as soon as tomorrow. Call us now or go to carsforkids.org.
Donate your car today.
Did you know you can donate real estate too?
Life is motion, but for Jaime, debilitating pain in both hips brought everything, including family time, to a halt.
Every doctor told me the same thing. They would do one hip at a time.
At White Plains Hospital, Dr. Jacob Totka's unique expertise provided an alternate approach by replacing both of Jaime's hips on the same day.
In just 2 hours, I got 2 new hips, and I went home that day.
White Plains Hospital, among the best hospitals anywhere that just so happens to be here. A member of the Montefiore Health System.
If you've been injured in an accident that wasn't your fault, then you need a lawyer who knows New York's unique personal injury and workers' compensation laws. At the Parisman Firm, they have decades of experience handling all types of accident cases and a proven track record of delivering huge results. Their team has already recovered nearly $1 billion for injured New Yorkers. From construction to car accidents and slips and falls, they've got you covered. Call the Parisman Firm now at 718-WORKERS, where your case is their cause. Get the justice you deserve today.
There's a lot of reasons why people buy at Ramsey Mazda. It's their selection, it's their customer service, and it's their savings. Lease a new 2026 Mazda CX-50 Hybrid Preferred with all-wheel drive for $259 for 36 months. Or buy with 1.9% APR for 36 months. Start shopping now at RamseyMazda.com. Choose wisely. Choose Ramsey Mazda. Call 833-853-2970 for lease details. VIN TN142673. MSRP $37,300. Zero security deposit. 1.9% APR for $28.60 a month per $1,000 financed. Ends 3/31/26.
25 a month, 5 whole years. Same sweet number in your ears. Check it in a year, check it in 5. This ain't optimum 5, but price is still alive. 25 a month, 5 whole years. Same sweet number in your ears. Get Optimum famously fast fiber internet. Optimum.com/25 for 5. Or call 8884-OPTIMUM. Terms apply. See Optimum.com for details.
I'm Boomer Esiason. My mom died from cancer. She was only 37 years old. She didn't have life insurance, and that was devastating for my family. That's why having life insurance is so important to me. Ethos makes it fast and easy. Get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. You can get up to $3 million in coverage with no medical exam.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/play. That's ethos.com/play. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Smalls here. Did you know there are many ways to do your taxes with H&R Block? You can go to a local office and get expert help in person, or you can choose virtual tax prep and get expert help without leaving home. Or you can even do them yourself online with live human help standing by. Whatever you choose, you can file with confidence, having H&R Block's 70-plus years of tax expertise in your corner. Switch today and file your way at hrblock.com.
NBA fans don't just watch the game, they live it. So stream like you're courtside with NBA League Pass, your ticket to all the action. Watch your favorite team shine and catch the league's brightest stars and rising stars at the same time with multi-view on your favorite devices. From the plays you can't believe to the most live games and the drama that comes with it. If it happens on the court, it's happening on NBA League Pass.
Only select out-of-market games available. Blackout restrictions apply. Additional charges and other conditions may apply. Visit NBA.com/subscriber agreement for full terms and conditions.
Get ready, New York soccer fans. New York City FC is back at Yankee Stadium for a massive showdown against Inter Miami on Sunday, March 22nd, with kickoff set for 1 p.m. You don't want to miss this huge matchup. Be there when the boys in blue take the field against Miami. For your chance to be there in person, enter now at ESPNNewYork.com or through the ESPN New York app. Tickets are available now at Ticketmaster.com/NYC. FC. Final segment, Jake Asman in for Michael K.
No Michael K.
Don Hahn and Rosenberg is coming your way next. Mel Kiper Jr. put out a mock draft today. And he has the Jets at 16 taking Ty Simpson. At number 2, he had the Jets taking David Bailey. I think for the Jets at 2, it's down to 3 players. It's either David Bailey from Texas Tech, Arvell Reese from Ohio State, or Sonny Styles, who's a linebacker, but he is so good and was so impressive at the Combine. He's maybe the only other player you could argue you could go with at 2. I think it's those 3, and I lean with Reese, who is the betting favorite, to be the guy they take. But at 16 to take Ty Simpson, that feels like a risk that Darren Mougey does not need to take when I believe the way he's positioned the Jets with 3 firsts a year from now in 2027 and what's considered to be a better QB draft, I think that's when you take the big swing. You take a swing on Ty at pick 16, you're not guaranteed to be here to do it again in 2027. And for those saying, well, just take him. And if it doesn't work out, take another quarterback next year. You don't want to run your team that way. You don't want to just light a premium asset on fire. You got this pick from the Colts for Sauce Gardner, a 2-time All-Pro. Don't just light the 16th overall pick on fire. That's not how you run your team. So I would wait until 27 to take Ty. And I like Ty. I cannot take him at 16. Second round, I have 2 seconds. I'm okay with doing it then because that doesn't affect you long term. 16 is a big investment. I wouldn't do it. He has the Giants taking Caleb Downs. So that would be interesting. If the Giants at 5 took a safety, I think Styles would be absolutely perfect for the Giants at pick 5. That's what I would do if I was them. I would avoid the temptation of, again, taking a running back in the top 5. Jeremiah Love is awesome. I would not do that if I'm the Giants. If I'm the G-men, I'm taking a receiver or I would take Sonny Styles. I think he would be the captain of that defense for a decade. You put him with Burns and the rest of the defensive line taking shape. I think with Harbaugh now there, the Giants, and Dart, let's say he does take that step in year 2, which I think he will, I think the Giants could be a playoff team. That's what I would do. Kiper has them taking Downs, who I think is great. And look, if any team's going to take a safety at number 5, you have to consider the Giants as the team that potentially does do that. Because Harbaugh was a part of a team that took Kyle Hamilton at pick 14 a couple of years ago, and that's worked out great for the Ravens. And sometimes it is about just taking the best player. Remember the Giants took Kayvon Thibodeau 5th overall? Would you rather have him or Kyle Hamilton right now, Giants fans? Bumbaka, you're a Giant fan. You rather Kyle Hamilton or Kayvon Thibodeau, right? So at the end of the day, it is sometimes about taking the best player. And if the Giants do think Caleb Downs, despite him being a safety, is the best player at number 5, I'd be okay with it, but you're the Giant fan, so I defer to you. How would you feel if that's the move?
Yeah, I think at 5, the Giants could go really in any direction, and I'd be happy. You could trade down. You could draft Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs, a wide receiver, Carnell Tate, doesn't matter. I think that we're in a great position to add a piece here that's going to bring immediate value, immediate impact to the squad.
I agree. Let's get to Andrew on Long Island. Andrew, thanks for waiting. What do you got for us?
Yeah, hey, Jake. How are you doing today?
What's up, Andrew?
Hey, Jake. I wanted to say about the Giants. I think, actually, instead of using their pick for number 5, they should trade back down. And I noticed they can either go with the Saints 2 down or they can go with the number 9 with the Chiefs. And it was no problem doing it. Like, there was no problem. And I got a late first-round pick with the Saints, and a late second-round pick with the Saints, and I got a third-round pick with the Chiefs.
Well, Andrew, you're just using these simulators, right? Anyone can make these trades.
Yeah,
these PFF simulators. In real world, real life, why would the Saints want to move up from 8 to 5 with the Giants? That's what you got to ask yourself.
Well, they wanted a player. They wanted, I think, Sonny Styles, or a receiver, a Tate, I believe. But I'm just using it as an example that the Giants could trade and not go out of the top 10, and they could still get a good pick, and they can get a third-round draft pick, which they don't have any. And if they trade Thibodeau for a third-round draft pick, they can have 2 third-round picks from none. And it'll just create more draft capital for them. And I really think it's important because the Giants, they need to fill holes still. And there's one player I'm particularly interested in. I don't know if you heard of him, of Corleone, Dante Corleone, defensive tackle. I think Hobbs is going to like this guy. He's traditionally a nose tackle with pass rushing appeal. And few and far between Corleone fits that blueprint. So by creating this draft capital, it really gives them a healthy draft, the Giants, in this draft. And we can see what kind of an impact it will have on the season.
Yeah, Andrew, I totally get the idea of trading back. I as a Jet fan, I'd love if the Jets could get at it too and get extra picks as well. I think it's easier said than done, though. And everyone does these PFF mock draft simulators where there's always a trade down you can make if you want it. That's not real life. Who's coming up for any of these players? I think it's a very good draft at some positions, but there's not a ton of quarterbacks, and that's typically what teams move up for. Even receivers teams move up for that. And there's some very good receivers in this draft, but it's not like a couple of years ago where you had the 3 guys all go in the top 10, including Malik Neighbors, who went, I believe, 6th that year to the Giants. So I think it's going to be tough for the Giants to move out. If they can, I would be all for it, especially because they could recoup the pick they traded last year to get Dart. There's something to be said for that. There's no doubt. I think the Jets will struggle to find a partner at 2 to move out, and same thing with the Giants at 5. So if they got to stick and pick, you got to get it right. We can debate position value all you want. If they took Downs at 5, I would have no issue with that. If the Jets took Styles at 2, I wouldn't kill them for it necessarily either, although I prefer Arvell Reese. Hey, fun show. Big thank you to Ray. Big thank you to Boombaka for producing. Thank you to our guest, Bruce Pearl. And the biggest thank you of all to everyone who tuned in here in the ESPN New York radio family. So appreciate that. Michael will be back tomorrow. Coming up, Don, Hahn, and Rosenberg. This is Jake Asman saying, enjoy your St. Patrick's Day. Go Team USA later. And we'll talk to you soon right here on 880 ESPN New York and the ESPN New York app.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You sort through tons of resumes and you get too many so-so applicants. You're just waiting for someone to match your role perfectly.